Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Tamara. Yes, studio audience, thank you so much for making it do what it do, baby. Yes, to all my new listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. New episodes drop every Thursday, so come on back through. I usually talk about my life, my interests, and the ways I'm trying to grow. And to all my day 1, 2, 3, 4, week 155, whenever you came in, you feel me. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not, you should totally follow me on social media, and the link to that is in the episode notes, as well as you should subscribe to the YouTube channel, you feel me? It's free 99 to support your girl in that way. And if you have a channel, it'll email me and let me know, and I will subscribe back, you feel me? So, guys, I want to apologize in advance if a random dog starts barking in the background. I don't have a dog. But as soon as I sat down to record, my neighbor's dog, which is next to the window that I am recording at, just started wilding. And I'm like, bruh, first of all, let's get into the fact that at the time of this recording, shout out to 12 Kyle, it is 27 degrees outside. Okay, it's November in Nebraska. I get it. Why it gotta feel like not negative? Why it gotta feel like 17 degrees though? And that's the thing that irritates me about where I live, is because why can't it just feel like what the temperature is? Why do you have to like go above and beyond and like either feel way less than, especially when we get into for real winter weather, and why you got to go above and beyond and feel way more than in the summer? Like, why can't you just be who you are and stop trying to be somebody else? Or why isn't the temperature just what it feels like? But nevertheless, it's snowflakes falling on the ground. Like, I'm so annoyed. I had to get gas this morning. Y'all, I really need to put some air in my tire, and I mean, I'm gonna do it, but like the last thing I really want to do in 17 feeling degree weather is go out there and try to put some air in the freaking tire, and I'm just but I'm here, guys. The ways I have had to pivot and be adaptable, like when I'm recording right now, was not when I normally record, and just the dog and trying to hurry up and do this, that, and the other. It has been an interesting, I don't know, season, I guess, because I'm very much a person that likes to plan things and have a schedule and a structure, and I have had to be extremely flexible lately, which is super important, especially, I mean, in life, but as a business owner for sure. So it's been interesting because things used to irritate me, like when the dog started barking, and I was just like, well, this is literally the only time that I know I can record. So y'all just might get this dog if it starts tripping again. My bad. You feel me? But in the last week or so, it has been very, very interesting. Last week I did this kind of like challenge in this entrepreneur group, and the super dope thing about it is the entrepreneurs that were leading the group are like these multimillionaires that I randomly went to this conference at my church. They'll have these like monthly kind of like entrepreneur networking type events or whatever, not events, but meetings. But then they had like a conference that was a little bit longer, and it's called King's Council is the name of the organization or whatever that ran it. And so, they're very big on, first of all, if you're not a believer, you're probably not going to want to, have anything to do with what they're talking about, because they do talk about biblical principles, but it's not like churchy or super preachy. But at the same time, I mean, there are actually things in the Bible that speak to like work ethic, wealth, and just all this stuff. And so they really use different principles like, having a vision, not goals, but like having a vision for your life. And why it was just such a dope experience, even just going to the conferences, because I've been really big on speaking life over myself, like speaking life over myself, my kids, my company, things that I want to happen. Some people call it manifesting, but for me, I say speaking life simply just because that's what the Bible says, speaking life. So that's what I've always said. You know what I'm saying? But it's I don't know like the heart necessarily behind manifesting because I don't look into everything that I'm not like has nothing to do with me or whatever. But from what I gather, it's pretty much the same thing as speaking life. You're not speaking death. You know what I'm saying is the key thing because there is power in your words and also there's power in the way that you think. So if you think you're not going to be able to do something or you say it's not going to happen, it's probably not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And so I've kind of been on that anyway, like speaking life into things that are currently happening and then things that I want to happen. And then they spoke about that, but they also talked about limiting beliefs and having like a personal contract and your core values and just all these things because at the end of the day, you have to have a solid foundation for yourself, your company, anything you're trying to do so that you can sustain it. Just like I just talked about having to be extremely flexible lately, that is not always how I was. I used to be so caught up in trying to be consistent in whatever that it almost made me like rigid. But even as I've read like articles lately on leadership and stuff like that, that's actually a leadership flaw if you are consistent to the point that it will become a hindrance from you being flexible when you need to. You know what I'm saying? So super dope to do that challenge. It was 5 days. They poured so much like knowledge into us or whatever. And then the dopest thing about it though, and y'all know that I talk a lot about community. So it's like I don't know if other people around me are as intentional about like really trying to speak life over themselves every day, like out loud. There are 7 things, I guess it would be called affirmations. There are 7 things that I speak over myself every day. And I have not always been like this, but like as I've become an entrepreneur and I won't say I have more time, but I can kind of delegate how I want to spend my time. So I'm very intentional about like my quiet time, my time with the Lord, my time in prayer, my time reading my Bible, my time even journaling, you know what I'm saying? And so with that, I there are 7 things that I speak over myself every day. And not everyone necessarily does that, but it was just really interesting when it's just so important to be around like-minded people in many different ways. And I've said that over and over again on this platform because I really learned that with podcasting. You know what I'm saying? Like the podcast community, if I'm honest, I'm probably still here as a podcaster because I've been encouraged, motivated, inspired, or whatever by other people that are doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Or I've learned from people. And when you're around like-minded people, especially when you're doing something new, it really helps to just keep you moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Because now there are other people that I knew prior to podcasting that I'm seeing starting podcasts, or maybe they started, but they started after me. You know what I'm saying? And so I've been going 3 years strong, which is so dope because the OG listeners know that consistency and creativity was not a strength of mine. I would like barely write here and there and whatever. And even as I currently have writer's block, or I don't really know what it is. I don't think it's writer's block because I do write what I want to write. I don't know. I don't feel like writing a blog right now. So I just haven't. Like, it's just not going to be something that I'm going to force. And it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But even with that, I'm still being creative in other ways. So I'm still a consistent creative. But like I was saying, the podcast community, I know that has helped me to keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And so I really am learning the beauty of, in all things that I do, just the power of community. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, with this challenge and being around, not around because it was virtual, even though I did get to be at the conference in person, around these like multi-millionaire people that I'm just like, wow, but they're not, like, wealth isn't the focus of it, even though yes, we need wealth, you know what I'm saying? And even as believers, if you happen to be a believer listening, it doesn't mean we have to be poor because we live for the Lord or love the Lord. Like, if we're supposed to be generous and we're supposed to be kind and share our resources with people, and this is something that I've been hearing a lot of different pastors kind of speaking more about. It's kind of like you don't have to have this poverty mindset just because you love the Lord, because how are you going to be generous? How are you going to give to charity or help people or do anything if you don't have it? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to. So it's not about you shouldn't have wealth or whatever. It's like, what are you doing with your wealth? And so I don't know. It was just a really dope week. At the end of it, I won a hoodie. So that was pretty dope because, they would give out prizes every day or whatever. And I hearing the prizes, I'm like, man, I want a hoodie. You know what I'm saying? So I actually won one on the last day. So that was kind of cool. And then I told y'all a couple weeks ago, I randomly came across this knit crew, and I was not playing when I said I was about to start knitting again. And I say again because, like, man, over a decade ago, the same lady that I saw there that I know, we used to go to church together, she had started a knit crew at the church we used to go to, and so I had started, and I don't know why I stopped. I don't know if it's I started school and got busy or whatever, but I could do whatever I want on Sundays because I don't work. And so this group is from 3 to 5 on Sundays. And this Sunday, I don't know that I necessarily had it in mind, like, oh, I'm going to go. Like, it is on my calendar because I knew I wanted to go back. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get some knitting needles and I'm going to get some yarn and I'm about to go start, right? So I messaged my friend and I was like, hey, I'll be coming today, just a heads up, just, because I had said I was going to come back, but you know how people sometimes be saying stuff and they don't even do it or whatever. So I wanted her to know that I was actually going to be coming back. And she said she wasn't going to be there because unfortunately she had a death in the family and she's out of town. And I was like, dang, because I don't know anybody else there. And so there was this part of me that was like, well, should I go? Because she won't be there. But then I was like, well, I don't need her to be there. And like, I do want to get started. And I'm so glad I just took that step, like, kind of getting past the fear of just going in an environment with strangers. It's in one of my favorite places. So that kind of made it easy to go because this art center, like, I really love it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad I went, you know what I'm saying? But before I went to Walmart to go get the knitting stuff or whatever. And so I'm in the knitting aisle, which finally I found it because they like remodeled this Walmart and I hadn't been there in a long time. And so I couldn't find anything that I needed, which was kind of annoying. Nevertheless, I get to the knitting section and there's this lady that just happened to be there. And it was so dope because I didn't know her, but I also didn't really know what I needed. At first, I was going to ask my friend, but then when she said she was out of town, dealing with a death in the family, I wasn't about to bug her with well, what should I get in this, that, and the other. So, like, there just thankfully happened to be this lady just already in the aisle. And I am very much a person that if I'm in the store and you look like you know what I need to know and I don't know you, I will ask you very, excuse me, ma'am. Usually it's been women that, especially like when it comes to like cooking and stuff like that. I remember one time Thanksgiving, I couldn't remember what I needed for ingredients or something for something that I was cooking that my mom had gave me the recipe, and she was like not answering her phone. And so there was some kind older grandma-ish lady in the aisle, and I'm like, she'd probably be cooking for her family. And she was able to help me, you know what I'm saying? So I make sure I do what I need to do to get what I need. You feel me? So this nice lady in the knitting aisle. She's with her kids, and her child is like grabbing something on a high row or top shelf or whatever. And I'm like, "Excuse me, ma'am, when you're done with that, do you knit?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, "Okay, can you help me? Because I'm joining this knitting crew and I'm gonna start knitting, but I don't know what I'm supposed to get." And she gave me like such great advice. She told me to get this pack of needles that had like 3 different sizes. She was like, that way you're not just stuck only doing whatever, which that's smart. She told me the difference in like types of yarns as far as like how thick, like this would be good for this and this would be good for that or whatever. And so I got my stuff. I went to the knit crew, and it was kind of funny because I'm the kind of person that if I've only seen you once, I may not remember what you look like the next time I see you if it's been 2 weeks like it had been. So I walk in and I wasn't even sure. Like I knew it was the right spot, but I just was like, and there are people sitting there knitting, but I'm like, are these the people that were there? And I said that like out loud. I'm like, hi, I don't know if any of you all were here when I was here last time. And the lady who like leads the group, she's like, oh yeah, I was here. And I'm like, okay, good, because then I don't look like this just random person just busting up in y'all stuff or whatever. So it was so dope because these like people that have been knitting for however long were able to not only like help me but like teach me. So like they would teach me, but then I did it, and I'm so glad she did it that way because I started, I'm working on a scarf, and I picked this beautiful yarn that's like ombre that goes from like pink or some dark pinkish color to a lighter pink to like a purple and then to a blue, and then it'll go to like this blue green, and then I'm sure I don't know how it like goes backward, but it's been really cool to just as I've started see the stripes start to come in on the scarf. Now here's the cool thing. These ladies that I don't know them, like my friend that I actually have known for years was not there. So the kindness that these ladies showed me, and I'm not even just talking about teaching me, I'm talking about giving me tools and supplies to help me that I wouldn't have known to buy, like these kind of like stitch counter markers or whatever. So, because I lost count of my count or whatever. Because the cool thing about knitting is there's math involved. So, like, according to the package thing that I bought or whatever, it was like if you want it to be 8 inches, then it needs to be 17 stitches. And so then as you're trying to decide how wide you want something to be or whatever, then it's easy for me to just know, okay, no, excuse me, 4 inches is 17 inches. 4 inches. No, excuse me. 4 inches is 17 stitches. And so I knew I didn't want the scarf to be that narrow. So I'm like, okay, then I'll have it be 8. So we'll just double that or whatever. So I went however far, and then I lost count at one point. So they gave me like, this count stitch marker counter or whatever. I don't even know what it's called, but that's what we're going to call it. Stitch marker counter. Okay. And then they gave me this stopper thing to put at the end of the needle. So, because like if you're stopping that way, you know, the needle won't come out and then just mess up what you're working on. So, stuff that I wouldn't have known to buy that they just had extra, that they're just like, you're going to need this here. And it was just so dope. And then on top of that, I had wanted to find like a cute bag to put my knitting stuff in, but I couldn't find one at Walmart. And so I was like, okay, well, that's fine. I'll just use a store bag for now. And then I'll, by the next time have one. And I happen to mention that because, we're talking about all kinds of different stuff and whatever. It was just really cool to just sit there and knit. And I mean, I could talk to anybody, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I talk to myself every week when I do my show. So, I could talk to anybody, but it was just really cool just sitting there knitting. She had snacks and whatnot. And so I had said, like, yeah, y'all, the next time I come here, I'm gonna have a cute little bag to have my stuff in. They didn't have nothing at Walmart or whatever. And they were talking about how, the more you knit, the more you like buy more stuff for knitting, you know what I'm saying? And I was just looking at all the little like supplies and pouches and just all this stuff that they have, right? And so then we're all gonna leave or whatever, and I go to use the restroom, and I come out of the restroom, and the lady who runs it, she calls my name, and she, long story short, gave me this bag that like she did, I forget what, screen printing. So it's like a bag that she didn't, I don't think, make the actual bag, but she put the screen printing on. So it's like personalized, I don't know if she made a bunch of it, but I have it and nobody else I know is gonna have it, you know what I'm saying? But that was really nice. She didn't have to do that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't have to do any of that, really. But the dope thing about her teaching me how to do it is, I don't know if it's because I did it before back in the day that I just picked it back up, or because she was just a really good teacher. And it's probably a combination of both, because they gave me tips like, don't do this because this will happen. And it's just stuff that like stuck with me. And so the cool thing about that is, so I went home and I kept knitting, because what else am I gonna do? And I was just listening to podcasts and knitting, and I really love listening to like, I can't watch TV when I'm doing something that requires me to look at what I'm doing, because I can't just listen to TV. I feel like if there's visuals, I need to pay attention to the visuals. So that's why I love podcasts, because I can just listen to podcasts while I'm doing other things and I don't have to look at anything. I just listen. So y'all are gonna see me, podcasters, getting back on my rotation, because it's like, depending what work looks like, I'm not gonna have as heavy of a rotation. And so like when I'm going to meet with clients and stuff like that, I don't always think to listen in the car, because sometimes I want silence, especially when it's back to back people or whatever. And so I'm obviously not going to be listening to podcasts. So my rotation will like get off, but I'm really about to try to, for sure on Sundays, for sure every Sunday I'm gonna knit. Like, yeah, go to the group, but I'm talking about come home and keep knitting. But then also, I'm gonna try to on some nights, because there are some nights that I'll end work earlier than others, and I'm gonna try to have that be as part of my wind down time, where instead of being on my phone or whatever I do, usually I work until I'm too tired and then go to sleep, but try to just like be intentional about winding down. I'm really trying to find like better work habits where I don't feel like, but there's ebbs and flows or whatever. So then the cool thing about the way that she taught me or whatever is that, so then the next day I actually did no work. I kind of just needed a rest. Like, sometime, I don't know, even though I just technically have my rest day Sunday, I don't know. I don't know. I just needed a rest, and thankfully I can prioritize my time how I want. And I literally spent the day listening to a bunch of different sermons from like churches that I don't go to, that I just listen to their podcasts, or maybe might watch their YouTube videos or whatever, that are like out of town, or so like Elevation Church or Transformation Church, or stuff like that, Life Church or whatever. And so I just listened to a bunch of their sermons, which were just so on point for what I need. So I like spiritually filling myself or whatever, and like knitted all day. Not all day, but most of the day. And it's cool because as I was getting a little bit further, I'm like, man, this scarf is gonna be wide, and I don't like that. I don't want it to be that wide. You know what I'm saying? And so I actually took it apart, and I was kind of nervous, because I'm like, what if I can't remember how to start it? You know what I'm saying? Because there's this thing, it's like casting at the beginning when you first getting it onto the needle is different than what you do when you're just knitting the rest of it. And I was like, man, what if I can't? And I was like, well, if I can't, we'll just start all over next Sunday, because I don't want it to be this wide and I don't like it. And so, I chose to make it that wide. And then I was just like, okay, I don't want it to be 4 inches wide, but I don't want it to be 8. So let's just do 3/4 of that. So I literally busted out the calculator, because 34 stitches is supposed to be 8 inches. And I did that times 0.75 and came up with 25.5. But obviously, you can't do a half a stitch. So I was like, okay, we'll do 26 stitches per row, and I'll just start all over. And I'm so glad I did it, because I like it so much better. And like, I literally made progress to where we've got through all the way to the blue, and for whatever reason I just couldn't wait till the blue came in or whatever. And like, seeing the stripes and just seeing my progress, like, I need stuff like that in my life, where there are like, kind of like that instant gratification of making progress, achieving a goal or whatever. So I know, I'm pretty sure that knitting is going to be something that I stick with, because first of all, I like it, and I like the ladies that are there. But then also, I'm someone who, when I have goals that seem like they're far away, that it's, or even never ending work, you know what I'm saying? I need to have things where there's like this, okay, this is a something I can check off my to-do list. Or because even like when I make this scarf, um Jay, yeah, Jay, I'm making her a scarf next because she asked for some socks, but we ain't there yet, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad she believes in me and my abilities, and we'll get there. I definitely want to even make myself some socks, you know what I'm saying? I'm such a fan of fuzzy socks, so if I could make my own knitted socks, that'd be dope. I would probably still wear like regular socks underneath, some little ankle socks, just cuz that might, I don't know how that's going to feel, but it'll look cool, and I'm a fan of colorful fuzzy socks, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, she asked for some socks, and I'm like, "Oh, so you want a scarf?" Because we not there yet. So I'm going to make her a scarf next, and I don't know, I'm just be making scarves or whatever else we get to, cuz it's just, I like it, and it's cool to see, a different creative outlet. I'm very much someone who likes to create. But from this episode, the point of me sharing those specific stories is that community is such a powerful thing, and it's so important. And if you are struggling to achieve goals, or you feel like the people around you don't understand you, your vision, your grind, or whatever, man, get around some like-minded people, because it's so dope, it's so encouraging, it's so inspiring, it's so motivating. And man, it just seems like like-minded people will share resources, share knowledge, or whatever, just more willingly, because they want to see you succeed too. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got for y'all this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you take care of yourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Be healthy in your relationships, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for